The Force binds all things across the galaxy, connecting every living being in an invisible web of light and dark. But what happens when something tears through the fabric of reality itself? Something from a universe where honor, not mysticism, governs the hearts of warriors. What happens when an empire built on brutal combat and glorious death crashes into a galaxy that has forgotten what it means to fight face to face? The subspace anomaly had been growing for 3 standard weeks in the Kethalolans sector, a violent tear in the fundamental structure of space that no Klingon scientist could explain. Massive gravitational shears twisted entire nebulae into spiraling vortexes. Sensor readings fluctuated wildly between quantum states that shouldn't exist. And at the center of it all, something pulled. An invisible force dragging matter toward an impossible singularity that defied every law of physics the Klingon Empire understood. Chancellor Martok stood on the bridge of the IKS Rotaran, his one good eye fixed on the view screen as 12 birds of prey held formation around his flagship. The legendary warrior bore the scars of 100 battles, his missing eye a gift from Dominion captivity, his weathered face a map of campaigns against Cardassians, Jem'Hadar, and worse. He had earned his position not through politics, but through bloodshed, rising from common soldier to the highest seat in the Empire through pure martial prowess. "Chancellor, the anomaly is expanding," reported his science officer, a young warrior named Kynera, who gripped her console as the ship shuddered. "Subspace fractures are cascading across 17 light years. If this continues..." The universe screamed. Reality split open like flesh under a mek'leth blade. The view screen filled with blinding white light as the anomaly exploded outward, transforming from a localized disturbance into a gaping wound between dimensions. Alarms shrieked across the bridge. The Rotaran lurched violently as impossible forces seized the ship, dragging it toward the rift with strength that overwhelmed even full reverse thrust. "All power to engines!" Martok roared, gripping his command chair as gravity failed and restored in chaotic pulses. "Do not let this void claim us without a fight." But this was a battle no warrior could win. The 11 other ships in the task force tumbled through space like leaves in a storm, their warp nacelles glowing white-hot as they fought against forces that bent space itself into impossible geometries. Martok watched his fleet, 400 warriors of the Empire, the finest soldiers Kronos had ever produced, vanish into light that burned with colors his eye had never seen. Then the Rotaran followed, and the universe Chancellor Martok had known ceased to exist. The transition lasted both an instant and an eternity. Martok felt his molecules stretch across dimensions, felt his consciousness touch something vast and ancient that whispered in languages older than the Klingon Empire. For one terrible moment, he sensed billions of lives connected by invisible threads of energy, a web of existence that had nothing to do with matter or antimatter, science or logic. Then it was over. The Rotaran exploded back into normal space with a thunderclap of displaced energy. Sirens wailed. Sparks cascaded from overloaded EPS conduits. Half the bridge crew lay unconscious at their stations, blood streaming from noses and ears. Martok shook his head, clearing double vision, and pulled himself upright. "Report!" he bellowed. Kynera's hands flew across her science console, and her face went pale, an impressive feat for a Klingon. "Chancellor, we're no longer in Kethalolans. We're not in any known sector. Star patterns don't match any Federation database. Subspace frequency is wrong. Everything is wrong." The fleet, all 12 ships accounted for, minor damage across the task force. But Chancellor... She looked up, and Martok saw something he rarely witnessed in a Klingon warrior's eyes: fear. There's a battle happening directly ahead. Ships we don't recognize, energy signatures unlike anything in our database, and they're firing at each other. Martok moved to the tactical station, where his weapons officer had already brought the view screen to full magnification. What he saw made his blood sing with anticipation, even as his tactical mind cataloged a dozen impossible details. 2 fleets clashed in the void between planets, their vessels shaped like nothing the Empire had ever encountered. On one side, angular white ships marked with red insignia unleashed torrents of green energy bolts, primitive, visible projectiles instead of directed energy beams. On the other, bronze-colored ships with strange organic curves returned fire with blue energy weapons while deploying clouds of small fighters and... Were those droids piloting combat craft? "They fight like children," muttered his first officer, Commander Clag, who had regained consciousness and now stood beside Martok's chair. "No cloaking, no evasive pattern sophistication. They simply exchange fire until one side breaks." But Martok saw something else. The scale of it. Hundreds of ships, thousands of small craft. The white vessels alone could hold tens of thousands of soldiers. This wasn't a skirmish or even a major engagement by Klingon standards. This was a war, a conflict consuming entire star systems, and they had appeared in the middle of it. "Chancellor, both fleets are hailing us," Canera reported. "Multiple frequencies. They seem confused by our sudden appearance. The white ships are transmitting what might be diplomatic protocols." "And the bronze ships?" Martok interrupted. "Weapons lock. Multiple targeting solutions across our fleet." Martok felt the familiar heat of combat anticipation flood his veins. Here they were, thrust into an unknown universe, facing unknown enemies with unknown capabilities. The honorable choice was clear. Announce themselves, offer combat to whoever proves strongest, and carve out a place in this strange new galaxy through the only language warriors truly understood. "Open a channel. All frequencies." The view screen flickered, showing a scarred face to both alien fleets. "I am Chancellor Martok of the Klingon Empire. We come from a realm beyond your understanding, pulled through forces we do not yet comprehend. We seek honorable combat against worthy opponents and will forge our path through strength and blood." His voice dropped to a growl. "Choose now. Face us with honor, or flee like cowards into the darkness. Either way, you will learn what it means when Klingon warriors enter a new battlefield." He cut the transmission and turned to Clag, a predator's smile crossing his weathered face. "Prepare for battle. Today, we introduce this galaxy to the Empire." If you want to see more characters enter the Star Wars galaxy, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character you'd want to see in the comments below. May the Force be with you. On the view screen, both fleets began moving toward the Klingon task force, their confusion transforming into hostile intent. Martok's smile widened. Perfect. The Republic fleet moved first, as Chancellor Martok knew they would. The white-hulled vessels, Venator-class star destroyers, though he had no name for them yet, broke formation with the bronze ships and adjusted their approach vector. Their energy weapons remained charged, but not firing, a posture Martok recognized from 1,000 first contact scenarios in his own universe. Diplomatic overture, cautious evaluation, the dance of civilizations that preferred talking to bleeding. The Klingons had never been skilled dancers. "They're hailing again," Canera reported. "Audio and visual this time. The transmission includes what appears to be universal translator protocols." On screen, the view screen shimmered, replacing the tactical display with the image of a human male wearing brown robes. His face marked by a neatly trimmed beard and eyes that carried the weariness of prolonged war. Behind him stood soldiers in white armor, their faces hidden behind helmets that gave them the appearance of identical drones. The robed man's posture radiated calm authority, but Martok noticed the weapon at his belt. a cylindrical handle that might be anything from a communicator to a blade. "I am Jedi General Obi-Wan Kenobi of the Galactic Republic," the man said, his voice measured and diplomatic. "Your arrival has complicated an already difficult situation. We detected no hyperspace signature, no subspace distortion. You simply appeared. That technology alone makes you a potential threat to—" "We are not here for your bureaucratic protocols, Jedi," Martok interrupted, testing the unfamiliar word on his tongue. "We seek to understand this galaxy and our place within it. You wage war against those bronze vessels. State your cause. If it is honorable, we may fight beside you. If not, we go our own way." Obi-Wan's expression flickered. Surprise, then something approaching respect. "The Separatist Alliance seeks to fragment the Republic through force and deception. They're led by—" he paused, as if reconsidering his words, "by beings who manipulate others for personal power. We fight to preserve democracy and peace." Commander Clag leaned close to Martok's ear. "He speaks of peace while commanding a warship in the middle of battle. These people lie to themselves." Martok grunted agreement, but kept his eye fixed on the Jedi. There was something about this Kenobi, something in the way he held himself that suggested capability beyond his peaceful words. A warrior pretending to be a diplomat, perhaps, or a diplomat forced to become a warrior. Either way, more interesting than the usual bureaucrat. "And your enemy?" Martok pressed. "Do they fight with honor? They deploy droid armies, automated soldiers with no regard for life. Their leadership includes—" The comm channel exploded with interference as new ships dropped out of hyperspace directly between the Klingon fleet and the Republic forces. These vessels bore the Separatist insignia, and at their lead was something that made even Martok's battle-hardened crew tense. A spherical vessel bristling with weapons, flanked by Providence-class destroyers that dwarfed even the Republic's star destroyers. A new holographic transmission pushed Obi-Wan's aside. The figure that appeared was humanoid but clearly cybernetic, a skeletal frame wrapped in armor plating, 4 arms ending in mechanical claws, and eyes that glowed with predatory yellow light. When it spoke, its voice carried the rasp of damaged vocal processors and barely contained violence. "I am General Grievous of the Separatist Droid Army. You are unknown entities in a war that does not concern you. Withdraw immediately, or I will add your ships to my collection of trophies." Martok felt his blood heat with instant recognition. Here was no diplomat, no peace speaker hiding behind pleasant words. This was a warrior, a hunter who collected kills like Klingons collected glory. The threat in Grievous's voice wasn't political posturing. It was promise. "You threaten Klingon warriors?" Martok rose from his command chair, moving closer to the view screen until his scarred face filled the transmission. "You who hide behind machines instead of fighting with your own hands? Come then, Hunter. Let us see if your trophies include the skull of a Klingon Chancellor." Grievous's mechanical eyes widened slightly. Surprise, then what might have been delight. His forearms spread wide, each hand curling into a claw. "How refreshing. Most organics beg for mercy or attempt negotiation. You offer combat. I accept." The transmission cut out. Immediately, the Separatist fleet opened fire. Emerald turbolaser bolts streaked across the void, slamming into the Rotaran shields with concussive force that rocked the bridge. Martok gripped his chair as alarms shrieked, but his weapons officer was already responding with trained Klingon efficiency. "Disruptors firing." The Rotaran's forward disruptor cannons unleashed focused energy beams that burned crimson through space, striking the lead Providence-class destroyer's shields. Unlike the visible bolts these aliens used, Klingon disruptors delivered sustained energy streams designed to overload defensive systems through continuous bombardment. The Separatist shields flickered, turned orange, then collapsed entirely as the sustained fire overwhelmed their generators. The destroyer's hull began to disintegrate. "Impossible," Kynera breathed. "Their shields couldn't withstand 15 seconds of sustained fire. These vessels are powerful, but their defensive technology is primitive," Clag finished. "They have numbers. They have firepower. But they fight like they've never encountered adaptive weapon systems." Martok watched as his other 11 birds of prey engaged the Separatist fleet with devastating efficiency. Klingon captains had spent decades perfecting hit-and-run tactics against Dominion forces that had outnumbered them 10 to 1. These Separatist ships might be larger, but they maneuvered like cargo haulers compared to the predatory grace of Klingon warships. "Chancellor, the Republic fleet is moving to engage the Separatists," Kynera reported. They're trying to position themselves between us and Grievous's forces." "They seek to protect us?" Clag sounded insulted. On the view screen, Obi-Wan's transmission reopened. "Klingon vessels, fall back to our position. We need no protection, Jedi," Martok roared. "But if you wish to fight beside us, do so with honor. Target their command ship. We will show this Grievous what warriors truly are." He didn't wait for Kenobi's response. "All ships, attack pattern Omega-3. Decloak directly behind their command sphere. Photon torpedoes, full spread. Today we teach this galaxy what happens when you threaten the Klingon Empire." The bridge crew responded with savage battle cries that had echoed across a dozen wars in their home universe. Around the Rotaran, all 12 Klingon ships shimmered and vanished from every sensor and visual spectrum known to the Star Wars galaxy. For 3 seconds, silence. Then the Klingon fleet materialized directly behind Grievous's flagship, close enough that their disruptor fire couldn't miss. Photon torpedoes, antimatter warheads from another universe, streaked toward the spherical vessel's engines. The explosion lit up the battlefield like a newborn star. Martok's grin was wolfish. "Welcome to war, General. Klingon style." The battle ended in 23 minutes, a shockingly brief engagement by Clone Wars standards. But then again, the Separatists had never faced an enemy that could simply disappear and reappear at will. General Grievous's flagship limped away into hyperspace, trailing atmosphere and debris, its massive spherical hull scarred by antimatter explosions that had punched through its shields like they were tissue paper. 3 Providence-class destroyers drifted as burning hulks. The remaining Separatist fleet scattered, jumping to light speed before the Klingons could press their advantage. Chancellor Martok stood on the bridge of the Rotaran, breathing hard, his blood still singing with combat euphoria. Around him, his crew moved with the practiced efficiency of warriors who had survived yet another glorious battle. Minor casualties, shields regenerating, weapon systems cooling, a perfect engagement. "Chancellor, the Republic fleet is requesting permission to dock," Kynera reported. "The Jedi General wishes to speak with you directly. He's insistent." Martok considered refusing. Talking after battle was for politicians and merchants. Warriors celebrated victory with blood wine and songs of the fallen. But his tactical mind recognized opportunity. They were stranded in an unknown galaxy, outnumbered by forces they didn't yet understand, and information was as valuable as any weapon. One shuttle, the Jedi, and no more than 4 escorts. If they bring an army, we will consider it an act of war. 20 minutes later, Obi-Wan Kenobi materialized on the Rotaran's transporter pad, a technology that made him visibly tense as his molecules reassembled from energy into matter. He was accompanied by 4 clone troopers whose armor bore orange markings, and whose rifles, Martok noted, remained powered, but not aimed. Professional soldiers, then. Good. The Jedi's hand had moved to his belt weapon the moment his boots touched the deck, but he made no move to draw it. His eyes swept the Klingon bridge, taking in the dark metal surfaces, the weapon racks where bat'leths and mek'leths hung within easy reach of every station, the trophies of past battles mounted on the walls, Targ's heads, Jem'Hadar rifles, even a Breen helmet with a crack across its faceplate. "Your ship is a museum of war," Obi-Wan observed quietly. "Our ship is a testament to victory," Martok corrected. "Every trophy represents an enemy who thought themselves superior and learned otherwise. Will you add your weapon to our collection, Jedi, or have you come in peace?" "In peace, Chancellor. Though I'll admit your combat capabilities have raised significant concerns within the Republic High Command." Obi-Wan moved closer, his posture relaxed, but his eyes sharp. "Technology that allows ships to become invisible, weapons that bypass particle shields, teleportation that ignores all known laws of physics. You're either the most advanced civilization we've ever encountered, or you're from somewhere very far away." "Eid." "Both." Martok gestured to the damaged view screen, which now displayed the unfamiliar star patterns of this galaxy. "We come from another universe entirely, pulled through a rift in space we do not yet understand. In our realm, we are the Klingon Empire, warriors who have conquered dozens of star systems and fought enemies you cannot imagine." The clone troopers shifted uncomfortably, but Obi-Wan's expression remained neutral. "Another universe? That would explain the unprecedented nature of your arrival." He paused, and when he spoke again, his voice carried weight. "Chancellor Martok, the galaxy you've entered is at war. The Republic represents thousands of systems trying to preserve democratic governance. The Separatists seek to tear it apart. If your empire has the power you've demonstrated, your choice of allies could determine the outcome of this conflict. You wish us to fight for you? I wish you to understand the stakes. The Separatist Alliance is manipulated by a Sith Lord, a wielder of the dark side of the Force, an energy field that connects all living things. The Sith have orchestrated this war for their own purposes, turning the galaxy against itself while they accumulate power." Martok studied the Jedi carefully. In his one good eye, Obi-Wan saw the evaluation of a warrior who had survived politics as brutal as any battlefield. "This force you speak of, can you demonstrate it?" Obi-Wan hesitated, then extended his hand. A bat'leth hanging on the far wall trembled, then flew across the bridge into his waiting palm. He held it for a moment, feeling its weight, its balance, its purpose as a weapon, then extended it handle first toward Martok. "The Force allows us to sense the life around us, to move objects with thought, to see possibilities before they unfold. The Jedi use it to preserve peace. The Sith use it to dominate and destroy." Martok took the bat'leth, examining it as if checking for damage. "Impressive, but we have encountered telepaths before. The Betazoids read thoughts. The Vulcans share minds. Some species bend reality itself." He hung the weapon back on its mount. "Power is meaningless without honor, Jedi. Tell me, this Republic you serve, how does it treat its warriors?" The question clearly caught Obi-Wan off guard. "Our clone troopers are bred for combat, trained from childhood, and serve with distinction." "Bred!" Commander Clagg's voice was ice. "You create slaves to fight your wars." "They're not slaves," one of the clone troopers spoke up, a lieutenant by his markings. "We're soldiers of the Republic. We fight because it's what we were made for." "Made?" Martok's voice dropped to a dangerous growl. "In the Klingon Empire, a warrior earns honor through choice, through struggle, through choosing to fight even when death is certain. You were given no choice. Your Jedi speak of peace while breeding an army of disposable soldiers." He turned back to Obi-Wan. This is the democracy you wish us to defend. Obi-Wan's jaw tightened. The clone army was a necessity created by circumstances we didn't foresee, but they fight alongside us, not beneath us. Many Jedi have died protecting their clone battalions. We don't see them as disposable. But your Senate does, Martok said flatly. I have commanded warriors my entire life, Jedi. I know the difference between soldiers respected and soldiers spent. Your Republic reeks of the latter. Silence filled the bridge, broken only by the hum of regenerating shield generators. Obi-Wan's hand tightened around his lightsaber hilt, but he didn't draw it. Instead, he took a breath and spoke with surprising honesty. You're not wrong, Chancellor. The Republic has flaws, deep ones that this war has exposed. But the alternative is a separatist victory, which means Count Dooku and his Sith Master controlling the galaxy. Whatever you think of our methods, theirs are worse. Then perhaps, Martok said slowly, this galaxy needs neither your weak Republic nor your deceptive separatists. Perhaps it needs warriors who remember what honor means. Before Obi-Wan could respond, Kanera's console chirped urgently. Chancellor, incoming transmission. It's encrypted on separatist frequencies, but it's specifically addressed to you. Martok and Obi-Wan exchanged glances. On screen, the view screen flickered to life, revealing a figure in dark robes with a curved lightsaber hilt visible at his belt. The man's face was refined, aristocratic, his white beard perfectly groomed, but his eyes held the weight of decades and secrets. Chancellor Martok, Count Dooku said smoothly. I believe we should talk. Count Dooku's holographic image stood with the practiced poise of nobility, but Martok had spent enough time among politicians to recognize the predator beneath the refined exterior. This was no weak separatist bureaucrat. This was someone who understood power and how to wield it without ever raising his voice. You have impressive timing, Count, Obi-Wan said coldly, his hand still resting on his lightsaber. Attempting to recruit allies immediately after your fleet retreated in disgrace? Dooku's smile was thin, patient. I prefer to think of it as recognizing opportunity when it presents itself, old friend. Unlike the Republic, I don't wait for Senate committees to debate obvious truths. His gaze shifted fully to Martok. Chancellor, you've been in this galaxy for less than one standard day, yet you've already witnessed the Republic's true nature. They breed slave soldiers, send them to die in pointless battles, and call it democracy. Is this the civilization you wish to align yourself with? We align ourselves with no one, Martok growled. Least of all manipulators who contact us through encrypted channels like thieves in the night. If you wish to speak, do so openly. Very well. Dooku's tone remained unruffled. I offer you alliance, Chancellor. The separatist systems seek freedom from a corrupt, bureaucratic republic that has forgotten how to govern. We value strength, decisiveness, and the freedom of sovereign systems to chart their own course. Your cloaking technology, your weapons, your warrior culture, these would be invaluable assets in our fight for independence. In exchange for what? Commander Clag demanded. Territory, resources, a place of honor in the new order that will rise when the Republic falls. The Outer Rim is vast, Chancellor Martok. Enough space for the Klingon Empire to establish a legitimate foothold in this galaxy. Dooku's eyes gleamed. Unlike the Republic, we don't demand you subjugate yourselves to our authority. We offer partnership between equals. Martok felt the offer's appeal, even as his instincts screamed warning. Territory meant a base of operations, resources to repair and maintain their ships without the rift they'd come through. If they were truly stranded here, they would need allies, supplies, and strategic position. But something about Dooku's carefully chosen words felt wrong. Your General Grievous offered us nothing but threats, Martok observed. Yet you offer partnership, which represents the true Separatist Alliance. Grievous is a blunt instrument, Dooku acknowledged smoothly. Effective for certain tasks, but lacking subtlety. I, on the other hand, recognize warriors of quality when I encounter them. The Republic would waste your potential, bury you under regulations and restrictions. We would allow you to thrive. Obi-Wan stepped forward, his voice sharp. Don't listen to him, Chancellor. Dooku serves a Sith Lord, a master of deception and manipulation. Everything he offers comes with chains you won't see until it's too late. Chains? Dooku's laugh was soft, dangerous. How ironic, coming from someone who commands an army bred in vats, their very existence a violation of sentient rights. Tell me, Obi-Wan, do your clone troopers dream of freedom? Or have you trained that instinct out of them along with everything else that makes them individuals? The clone lieutenant beside Obi-Wan tensed, but said nothing. The silence spoke volumes. Martok studied both men carefully, the Jedi defending a flawed system, the Separatist offering honeyed promises, and felt his contempt for both deepen. These people didn't understand honor. They understood only manipulation and counter-manipulation. Each side convinced their lies were more righteous than their enemies. You speak of freedom while deploying armies of machines, Martok said to Dooku. Droids with no honor, no courage, no capacity for glory in combat. How is victory meaningful when won by soulless automatons? Droids preserve organic life, Dooku countered. Unlike the Republic, we don't throw living soldiers into meat grinders and call it duty. You avoid sacrifice entirely, Clegg interjected with disgust. What honor is there in victory if you risk nothing? A warrior who fears death has no right to claim glory. Dooku's expression flickered, genuine confusion crossing his aristocratic features. You prefer enemies who can actually die? We prefer enemies who can actually fight, Martok corrected. Your droid armies are target practice. Grievous at least has the courage to face combat personally, whatever mechanical horror he's become. But you, Count? You hide behind holograms and offer alliances while your subordinates do the bleeding. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Dooku's pleasant facade cracked, revealing something colder beneath. You would be wise not to insult. I insult no one, Martok interrupted, his voice rising to a battle roar that echoed across the bridge. I state fact. You are both parasites feeding on this galaxy's weakness. The Republic breeds slaves and pretends it's democracy. The Separatists build puppet armies and call it liberation. Neither of you understands what it means to fight with honor, to face your enemy eye to eye, and earn victory through blood and courage. Canera's console beeped urgently. Chancellor, we're detecting power fluctuations in the surrounding space. Multiple Republic and Separatist vessels are moving into position around our fleet. Martok realized both sides had been stalling, maneuvering their forces while their leaders kept him occupied with words. Clever. Dishonorable, but clever. Obi-Wan's expression tightened with what might have been embarrassment. Chancellor, I didn't authorize. Of course you didn't, Martok said bitterly. Your Senate did. Your High Command did. Because they don't trust warriors to make their own decisions. He turned to Dooku's hologram. And you, Count? How many ships surround us on your behalf? Dooku's smile returned, sharp as a blade. Enough to ensure you make the correct choice. Join us willingly, Chancellor, or we'll take your technology by force. Finally, Martok breathed, feeling genuine satisfaction for the first time since the conversation began. An honest threat. This, at least, I understand. He drew his duck tog knife and hurled it at the holographic projector. The blade shattered the emitter in a shower of sparks, cutting Dooku's transmission mid-sentence. Then he turned to Obi-Wan. who had his lightsaber halfway drawn. "Tell your fleet to stand down, Jedi, or we will demonstrate why threatening Klingon warriors is a mistake that ends bloodily." "I can't do that," Obi-Wan said quietly. "Not until we understand your intentions." "Our intentions?" Martok's laugh was harsh. "We intend to forge our own path in this galaxy, free from your Republic's chains and the Separatists' manipulations. We will establish territory through conquest, not negotiation. We will fight enemies worthy of glory, not political pawns playing games with words. And if either of your factions attempts to subjugate us, we will paint the stars red with your blood." He gestured to his guards. "Escort the Jedi back to his shuttle. Do not harm him. He came in peace, even if his superiors did not." As the Klingon warriors moved to flank Obi-Wan and his clone troopers, the Jedi spoke one last time. "You're making a mistake, Chancellor. Alone in this galaxy, your fleet won't survive." "Klingons do not survive, Jedi." Martok met his eyes with absolute certainty. "We conquer, or we die gloriously trying. Either outcome is preferable to becoming pawns in your war of cowards." As Obi-Wan dematerialized in the transporter beam, Commander Clegg moved beside Martok. "Orders, Chancellor?" Martok looked at the star map, at the vast unknown galaxy spreading before them. Somewhere out there was territory they could claim, enemies they could fight, and perhaps, just perhaps, warriors who remembered what honor meant. "Set course for the Outer Rim. We will find our own battlefields and forge our own legend, and let both Republic and Separatists learn what happens when they mistake Klingon independence for an invitation to control us." The Rotaran turned away from both fleets, its cloaking device engaging as 11 other birds of prey vanished with it. Behind them, Republic and Separatist vessels searched in vain for targets that had simply ceased to exist. The Klingon Empire had made its choice. This galaxy would learn to respect it, or burn, trying to subjugate it. The outer rim world of Ryloth's third moon provided exactly what Martok needed: isolation, defensible terrain, and strategic position near major hyperspace routes. The Klingon task force had spent 3 weeks establishing a fortified base in the moon's abandoned mining tunnels, converting the caverns into operation centers, weapons depots, and eventually something that began to resemble home. Banners bearing the Klingon Imperial insignia hung from rocky walls. Training grounds echoed with the clash of bat'leths. Engineers worked tirelessly to adapt their technology to this galaxy's different physics. But supplies were finite. Antimatter reserves depleted with every photon torpedo fired. Dilithium crystals strained under constant warp jumps through real space instead of established hyperspace lanes. They had power, weapons, and warrior spirit in abundance. What they lacked was infrastructure, intelligence networks, and understanding of this galaxy's strategic landscape. Canera had spent every waking hour analyzing sensor data, intercepted transmissions, and captured Republic databases. Now she stood before Martok in the command center, her expression troubled. "Chancellor, I've mapped the major factions and power structures. The Republic controls the core worlds and most of the inner rim. Thousands of systems, trillions of citizens, massive industrial capacity. The Separatists hold significant territory in the Outer Rim and corporate sector. But there's something else. Something both sides mention, but neither will explain clearly. Speak plainly. The Jedi, they're not just warriors or diplomats. They're everywhere. They command armies, negotiate treaties, assassinate enemy leaders, investigate crimes. The Republic treats them as ultimate authority figures, almost religious icons. But their actual numbers are small, perhaps 10,000 across the entire galaxy. Commander Clegg snorted. 10,000 mystics controlling a civilization of trillions? Either these Jedi are far more powerful than Kenobi demonstrated, or this Republic is even weaker than we thought. There's more, Kanera continued. I've detected references to Sith. Dooku mentioned them. Ancient enemies of the Jedi who were supposedly extinct for 1,000 years. But Separatist intelligence suggests at least 2 Sith are active now, manipulating this entire war from the shadows. Martok paced the command center, his tactical mind working through implications. A war orchestrated by hidden manipulators. 2 vast factions bleeding themselves dry while mysterious figures pulled strings. Slave soldiers fighting droid armies in pointless battles across 1,000 worlds. A warrior's nightmare, he muttered. Not war for territory, resources, or even honor. War for its own sake, designed to weaken everyone involved. Chancellor, a communications officer called out. We're detecting a ship approaching the moon. Small craft, heavily damaged. It's broadcasting a distress signal on Klingon frequencies. That was impossible. They were the only Klingons in this universe. Identify the vessel. Configuration unknown. Wait, it's not using our frequencies exactly. It's mimicking them. Someone studied our transmissions and is trying to contact us specifically. Martok felt his interest sharpen. Tractor beam. Bring it in carefully. Prepare security teams. The ship that materialized in their captured hangar bay was unlike anything in either Klingon or Star Wars design. Sleek, angular, built for speed and stealth. Its hull bore scorch marks from energy weapons, and one engine was clearly offline. The moment it touched down, the canopy hissed open. A figure dropped out, moving with fluid grace despite obvious injuries. Blue skin, red eyes, elegant clothing torn and burned, and an expression of desperate calculation that Martok recognized instantly. Someone who had just made a dangerous gamble and wasn't sure if it would pay off. I am Cad Bane, the bounty hunter said, his voice carrying a peculiar rasp. And I have information you need. Klingon warriors surrounded him immediately, batleths raised. Bane didn't reach for the twin blaster pistols holstered at his sides, though his hands twitched with the instinct. Smart, professional. Speak quickly, Martok ordered, before I decide whether you're a spy or simply prey. Neither. I'm a businessman who recognizes opportunity. Bane pulled a data chip from his belt with careful, non-threatening movements. You want to understand this galaxy? I've got 3 decades of experience as the best bounty hunter in the Outer Rim. Criminal networks, Republic intelligence gaps, Separatist command structures, Hutt cartel operations. I know where the power really flows. And why would you share this with us? Because you're disruptors, wildcards. Neither side controls you and both sides fear you. That creates opportunities for someone smart enough to capitalize. Bane's red eyes gleamed. The Republic put a bounty on your heads. 2 million credits per ship. Alive or destroyed. The Separatists did the same. Every bounty hunter, pirate, and mercenary in the Outer Rim is looking for you. Clegg moved closer, his batleth's edge near Bane's throat. And you thought you'd collect that bounty yourself. I thought I'd do something smarter. Bet on the faction most likely to survive. Bane gestured to his damaged ship. I tried ignoring you. That got me caught between Separatist hunters and Republic cruisers, both thinking I knew your location. So now I'm here with a simple offer. I give you the intelligence infrastructure you need to survive in this galaxy. You give me protection and a cut of whatever spoils your conquests generate. Martok studied the bounty hunter carefully. Everything about Bane screamed mercenary. No loyalty except to credits, no honor except personal survival. In the Klingon Empire, such individuals were barely tolerated. But here, in an unfamiliar galaxy, where both major factions had declared them enemies, Practical intelligence might be worth more than honor. What kind of information? Bane tossed the data chip to Kanera, who caught it warily. Hyperspace routes the Republic doesn't patrol. Separatist supply depots with minimal droid security. Black market contacts who'll trade for your technology without asking questions. Neutral systems where you can resupply without triggering either side's alert networks. He paused. And the locations of targets you'll actually want to fight. Explain. You're warriors, right? You want glorious combat, not ambushing cargo freighters. Bane's smile was sharp. There are species in this galaxy who live for battle. The Wookiees, powerful, honorable. Enslaved by Separatists and Trandoshans. The Mandalorians, armor-clad warriors scattered across multiple systems. Even the Sith, if you're suicidal enough. Give me access to your sensor data, and I'll find you enemies worthy of your legends. Kanera looked up from analyzing the data chip. Chancellor, this information is extensive. Trade routes, criminal syndicate hierarchies, Republic patrol schedules. If even half of it's accurate, we could operate for months without detection. It's all accurate, Bane said flatly. I don't stay alive by providing bad intel. Martok felt the weight of command settle on his shoulders. Accepting help from a mercenary violated every instinct. Klingons earned their victories through strength, not purchased information. But they were 400 warriors in a galaxy of quadrillions, hunted by two massive factions and completely cut off from reinforcement. Pride was glorious. Stupid pride got warriors killed. You will remain under guard at all times, Martok decided. Any betrayal will result in your death. Slow, painful, and legendary enough that every bounty hunter in this galaxy learns what happens when you cross the Klingon Empire. Understood? Perfectly. Then tell me about these Mandalorians. If they're truly warriors, they may be the only beings in this galaxy worth fighting beside. Bane's smile widened. Funny you should mention them. The Separatists just glassed 3 of their colony worlds. The survivors are scattered, angry, and looking for a fight they can actually win. He pulled up a holographic star map. Their main staging ground is a planet called Mandalore. The Republic protects it nominally, but the real power is the Death Watch. Traditionalist warriors who reject pacifism and want to reclaim their culture's warrior heritage. Clagg's eyes lit with interest. Warriors who reject peace? This I must see. Set course for Mandalore, Martok ordered, then turned back to Bane. And Bounty Hunter, pray your information proves accurate, because if you've led us into a trap, you'll wish both Republic and Separatists had found you first. Bane simply nodded, his expression calculating. He'd gambled everything on alien warriors from another universe. Now he'd discover if he'd bet correctly, or if his legendary career would end on a Klingon blade. The approach to Mandalore was unlike anything Martok had experienced in 3 weeks of navigating this galaxy. The planet itself gleamed white and silver against the void, desert wastelands surrounding massive biocube cities that rose like geometric monuments to survival. But it was the orbital defense grid that caught his attention. Ancient weapons platforms, updated with modern technology, yet clearly designed generations ago by people who expected constant warfare. These Mandalorians know how to defend territory, Clag observed with approval. Overlapping firing solutions, redundant sensor nets, kill zones designed for coordinated crossfire. Whoever built this understood siege warfare. Cad Bane leaned against a console, still under guard, but increasingly relaxed. Mandalorian culture was built on conquest. For thousands of years, they were the galaxy's most feared warriors. Then pacifists took over, banned weapons, tried to make them civilized. His rasp carried contempt. Didn't take. The warrior clans went underground, waiting for their chance to reclaim what their ancestors built. Martok studied the planet below, feeling something stir in his chest. Recognition, perhaps, or hope. Hail them. Standard diplomatic frequencies. Tell them the Klingon Empire requests an audience with their warrior leaders. The response came faster than expected. The holographic image that materialized showed a woman in distinctive armor, plates painted in blues and grays, a helmet with a T-shaped visor that revealed nothing of her face. When she spoke, her voice carried the exhaustion of someone who'd been fighting too long with too few victories. I am Bo-Katan Cries of Clan Cries, leader of the Night Owls. You're the aliens everyone's talking about, the ones who made both Republic and Separatists retreat in the same battle. She paused. Either you're the most dangerous thing to hit this galaxy in 1,000 years, or you're the most foolish. I'm not sure which. We are Klingons, Martok said simply. We fight with honor, seek worthy enemies, and bow to no authority except that which we respect. From what we've learned, your people once shared these values. Bo-Katan's posture shifted slightly. Impossible to read through armor, but Martok sensed it anyway. Interest, maybe wariness. Once, before the new Mandalorians decided peace was worth more than pride, before we became a protected Republic world instead of an independent warrior culture. And you disagree with this. Pacification? My sister leads the pacifists. Bitterness crept into Bo-Katan's voice. She believes Mandalore's warrior past brought nothing but death and destruction. She's not entirely wrong, but she's not entirely right either. There are threats in this galaxy that peace won't stop. Enemies that diplomacy can't defeat. The Separatists proved that when they glassed our colonies. Martok felt his blood heat. They attacked your people? 3 worlds. Concord Dawn, Harsui, and Werda. Droid armies slaughtered civilians while we were scattered across the galaxy fighting Republic battles as mercenaries. Her fist clenched at her side. Death Watch has sworn revenge, but we're fractured. No central leadership, no unified strategy, just scattered clans striking back however they can. Death Watch, Canera interjected. Our intelligence suggests they're the traditionalist faction. They reject the new Mandalorian's pacifism and want to restore the warrior culture. We are the guardians of what Mandalore truly is, Bo-Katan confirmed. But we're dying. Every battle costs us warriors we can't replace. The Republic tolerates us only because we're useful as mercenaries. The Separatists hunt us because we refuse to join them, and our own government denounces us as terrorists. Martok understood that particular pain intimately. He'd spent years in the Klingon Empire watching politicians weaken warrior traditions, watching bureaucrats question the very instincts that had built their civilization, until he'd risen high enough to change it. Then perhaps, he said carefully, Mandalore needs to remember what it means to be warriors. Perhaps it needs an example. Bo-Katan's helmet tilted. You're offering alliance. Why? What do Klingons gain from allying with a dying warrior culture? Kindred spirits. Clag answered before Martok could. In our universe, we've conquered dozens of species, but we respect those who fight with honor, who value courage over comfort. Your Mandalorians sound like the only beings in this galaxy who might understand what true warrior culture means. Pretty words, Bo-Katan said skeptically. But I've heard pretty words from Republic Jedi, Separatist politicians, even my own sister. What makes yours different? We fight our own battles, Martok growled. We don't hide behind droid armies or bred slaves. We face our enemies with blades and honor, and the willingness to die gloriously if that's what victory requires. Come aboard my ship, Mandalorian. See how Klingon warriors live. Then tell me if our words are empty. Silence stretched across the comm channel. Martok could almost feel Bo-Katan weighing options. calculating risks, wondering if this was genuine offer or elaborate trap. Finally, she spoke. "I'll bring 2 of my night owls. If this is a trick, you'll discover why Mandalorian armor is feared across the galaxy." "If it's a trick," Martok countered, "you'll discover why the Klingon Empire has never been conquered." 20 minutes later, 3 figures materialized on the Rotaran's transporter pad. Bo-Katan and her escorts immediately dropped into combat stances, jetpacks primed, weapons ready. The transporter technology had clearly unsettled them. Matter-energy conversion was pure science fiction, even in the Star Wars galaxy's advanced civilization. "Stand down," Bo-Katan ordered her warriors after scanning the bridge. Her helmet's sensors swept across every surface, analyzing Klingon technology with professional thoroughness. "No visible trap. Yet." Martok gestured to the weapons mounted on the walls. Batleths, mek'leths, duck-tog daggers, each one bearing marks of actual combat use. These are not decorations. Every blade has tasted enemy blood. Every trophy represents a battle won through courage and skill. This is what a warrior culture looks like, Mandalorian. Not hidden in shadows, not apologizing for its nature. Proud, honest, honorable. Bo-Katan removed her helmet, revealing sharp features, intense eyes, and scars that marked someone who'd seen real combat. She moved to the nearest batleth, examining its edge with expert appreciation. Designed for close combat. No energy cell, no power source. Pure melee weapon. She looked at Martok. "You actually fight with these? Against energy weapons and explosives?" "We fight with whatever brings us closest to our enemies," Clag said. "Disruptors and photon torpedoes at range. Batleths when we board their ships. Warriors should feel their enemy's last breath, see their eyes when they fall. Anything less diminishes the victory." One of Bo-Katan's night owls, a warrior named Koska Reeves, spoke up. "That's insane. Modern warfare is about range, accuracy, tactical superiority. Modern warfare is about cowards killing each other from safe distances," Martok interrupted. "Your Republic breeds clone soldiers in vats and sends them to die without choice. Your Separatists build droid armies that feel nothing, sacrifice nothing, earn nothing. Where is the honor? Where is the glory? Where is the meaning in victory won by machines and slaves?" Bo-Katan's expression shifted. Recognition, perhaps even pain. "My sister would say that minimizing casualties is the highest honor, that preserving life matters more than warrior pride." "Your sister is wrong," Martok said flatly. "A life without purpose is worthless. A warrior who dies gloriously defending what they believe achieves immortality. But a soldier who dies because they were bred to obey orders, that's not honor. That's waste." The Mandalorian leader stood silent, staring at the trophies surrounding her. When she finally spoke, her voice was quiet, but carried absolute conviction. "The Separatists glassed 3 of our worlds, killed tens of thousands of Mandalorians, warriors, civilians, children. My sister wants peace negotiations. The Republic wants us to wait for diplomatic solutions." She looked directly at Martok. "I want revenge. Can your Klingon Empire help me take it?" Martok felt his predator's smile return. "Tell me where your enemies gather their strength, Mandalorian. Tell me where these separatist cowards hide behind their droid armies, and we will show this galaxy what happens when 2 warrior cultures unite against those who've forgotten what honor means." Bo-Katan's own smile was sharp as Beskar. "Then welcome to Mandalore, Chancellor. I think this is the beginning of a very profitable and very bloody alliance." The Jedi Temple on Coruscant had weathered 1,000 years of galactic history, but the emergency session called by the Council carried an urgency that made even the ancient halls feel claustrophobic. Obi-Wan Kenobi stood in the center of the council chamber, surrounded by holographic projections of Jedi Masters scattered across the galaxy's war zones, all focused on the same unprecedented problem. The Klingons had vanished 3 weeks ago. Now they'd reappeared, allied with Mandalorian Death Watch. "Disturbing this development is," Master Yoda said from his council seat, his ancient eyes troubled. "Warriors both groups are. Combined, a threat to the Republic they pose." Obi-Wan pulled up tactical displays captured by Republic intelligence. The alliance happened fast, too fast for normal diplomatic channels. 4 days ago, Klingon and Mandalorian forces launched a coordinated strike on the Separatist garrison at Concordia. They wiped out 3 droid battalions in under 2 hours. Mace Windu leaned forward, his expression grim. Concordia was a hardened position. Count Dooku personally oversaw its fortification. How did they? Cloaking technology and jetpack assault troops. Obi-Wan interrupted. The Klingons materialized inside the base's shields. Mandalorians dropped through every opening simultaneously. By the time Separatist commanders realized they were under attack, it was already over. No prisoners, no mercy. "That's not warfare," Jedi Master Plo Koon observed via hologram. "That's extermination. That's what happens when you combine Mandalorian ruthlessness with Klingon technology," Obi-Wan said quietly. "And it gets worse. Intelligence reports they're recruiting, not just Death Watch. Other Mandalorian clans are abandoning neutrality to join them. Even some who previously supported the new Mandalorians." Master Ka-Adi-Mundi's hologram flickered with concern. Bo-Katan's influence? More than that. The Klingons are offering something the Republic never could: respect for warrior culture. They treat Mandalorians as equals, not mercenaries. They fight alongside them, not above them. And Chancellor Martok. Obi-Wan paused, choosing his words carefully. He's a legitimately inspiring leader. A warrior king from a culture that values exactly what Death Watch wants to restore. Anakin Skywalker, standing beside Obi-Wan, spoke up. "Master, I've reviewed the combat footage. These Klingons aren't just skilled. They're strategic geniuses. Every engagement is calculated to maximize casualties while minimizing their own exposure. They use their cloaking to strike critical targets, then withdraw before reinforcements arrive. It's guerrilla warfare elevated to an art form. And the Mandalorians provide what the Klingons lack," Obi-Wan continued. "Ground combat expertise, knowledge of Republic and Separatist tactics, intelligence networks throughout the Outer Rim. Separately, each group is dangerous. Together, they're..." He trailed off, searching for the right word. "Unstoppable?" Mace Windu supplied darkly. "I was going to say unpredictable, but yes, potentially unstoppable if they continue to grow." The council chamber fell silent. Through the Force, Obi-Wan could sense the Master's collective unease. The Clone Wars had been difficult enough. A conflict orchestrated by Sith manipulation, tearing the Republic apart from within. Now, an external factor had entered the equation, one that answered to neither light nor dark side, one completely outside their understanding of how the galaxy worked. "What do the Klingons want?" Yoda asked finally. "Territory, resources? Why ally with Mandalorians specifically?" "I spoke with Chancellor Martok aboard his ship," Obi-Wan said. "He's not interested in conquering the Republic or joining the Separatists. He wants to establish an independent Klingon territory, free from both sides' control. The Mandalorian Alliance gives him legitimacy, local knowledge, and warrior allies he actually respects." "Then perhaps we can negotiate," Ki-Adi-Mundi suggested. "Offer them a sector of the Outer Rim in exchange for neutrality. If they simply want independence, They also want revenge against the Separatists, Anakin interjected. The Mandalorians haven't forgotten who glassed their colony worlds, and from what I've learned about Klingon culture, they value honor-bound vengeance. They won't stop attacking Separatist targets just because we offer them a peace treaty. Mace Windu stood, his hand resting on his lightsaber hilt. Then we may have no choice but to classify them as enemies of the Republic. We can't allow a rogue military force to operate without oversight, destabilizing entire sectors. That would be a mistake, Obi-Wan said firmly. Master, I've seen what Klingon weapons can do. Their cloaking alone makes conventional warfare nearly impossible. If we declare them enemies, we'll be fighting a two-front war against opponents who can appear anywhere, anytime, without warning. Then what do you propose? Obi-Wan took a breath. Cautious observation. Let them fight the Separatists. They're doing more damage to Dooku's forces than we've managed in months. Meanwhile, we established diplomatic channels with Bo-Katan. She's pragmatic. If we can convince her that the Klingon alliance isn't sustainable long-term. You wish to divide them, Yoda observed. I wish to prevent the Republic from making more enemies than necessary. The Klingons are dangerous, but they're honorable in their own way. Chancellor Martok rejected Count Dooku's offer because he saw through the Sith manipulation. That suggests he can be reasoned with, if we approach him correctly. Or, Mace Windu said coldly, it suggests he's simply waiting to see which side weakens itself enough for him to conquer. Don't mistake alien honor codes for trustworthiness, Obi-Wan. These Klingons have demonstrated they're willing to kill without hesitation. So are we, Anakin said quietly. Every clone battalion we send into battle, every planet we bombard from orbit, every separatist we execute without trial. We're not exactly pacifists either. The uncomfortable silence that followed Anakin's words spoke volumes. The Clone Wars had changed the Jedi Order, forced them into roles as generals and warriors that contradicted their peacekeeping traditions. And now, a group of true warriors had arrived, showing them what total commitment to combat actually looked like. Regardless of philosophy, Obi-Wan said, breaking the silence. We need intelligence on Klingon capabilities and intentions. I volunteer to establish contact again with Chancellor Martok, this time with genuine negotiation, not military posturing. Dangerous this would be, Yoda warned. Trust Klingons, you cannot. Warriors they are, yes, but warriors from another universe entirely. Their honor may not align with ours. Which is exactly why I should go, Obi-Wan insisted. I've already met Martok. He didn't kill me when he had the chance, even after both Republic and Separatist fleets surrounded him. That counts for something. Mace Windu considered for a long moment. Very well. But take a full clone battalion as escort. And, Obi-Wan, if you determine the Klingons represent an existential threat to the Republic, you're authorized to eliminate their leadership. Do you understand? Obi-Wan felt the weight of those words settle on his shoulders. Assassination, not negotiation or arrest. Elimination. The Council was serious. I understand, Master. As the holographic projections flickered out one by one, Anakin moved beside his former master. You think you can convince them to stand down? No, Obi-Wan admitted. But I think I can convince them we're not their enemy. That might be enough to prevent this galaxy from tearing itself apart even faster than it already is. Meanwhile, in the Separatist stronghold on Sereno, Count Dooku stood before a holographic projection of his own. The hooded figure of Darth Sidious, his master in the Sith arts. The Klingon situation grows problematic, Sidious hissed. They refuse to be manipulated, refuse to be controlled. This was not part of the plan. No, Master, Dooku agreed. But perhaps we can turn it to our advantage. The Republic fears them. Let that fear drive the Jedi into making mistakes. Let them waste resources pursuing warriors who won't be caught. Or, Sidious said slowly, we eliminate them entirely. I sense no Force presence in these Klingons. They are empty spaces in the Force, voids where life should exist. It disturbs the natural order. You wish me to deploy Grievous? No. Grievous has already tested them and found them worthy opponents. That is not what we need. Sidious's eyes gleamed beneath his hood. When Order 66 begins, the galaxy will change forever. The Jedi will fall. The Republic will transform into an empire, and these Klingon warriors will discover what true power looks like. Until then, let them fight. Let them believe they matter. Their end will be all the more satisfying when it comes. Dooku bowed. As you command, Master. The transmission ended, leaving Dooku alone with his thoughts and the growing certainty that the Klingon Empire's arrival had accelerated something dangerous. A convergence of powers that even the Sith might struggle to control. The dimensional rift that had brought the Klingons into the Star Wars galaxy pulsed with increasing violence in the empty space of the unknown regions, unnoticed by either Republic or Separatist forces. On the bridge of a modified Klingon science vessel, 3 quantum physicists worked frantically to analyze readings that made no sense according to either universe's laws of physics. The rift is destabilizing, announced Lieutenant Korvath, his hand flying across controls that monitored subspace fractures. Every day it grows more chaotic. We're detecting temporal anomalies, dimensional bleeding, even indications that localized physics are beginning to break down. Kynera, who had left the main fleet to oversee this critical research, felt cold dread settle in her stomach. Projections? If current deterioration continues, 3 months, maybe 4 before the rift collapses entirely or expands catastrophically. Korvath pulled up simulations that made Kynera's blood run cold. And Chancellor, if it expands, it won't just close our route home. It could tear a hole in this universe's fabric large enough to destabilize entire sectors. Star systems could be ripped into dimensional flux. Billions dead. Kynera stared at the pulsing anomaly on the view screen, their only link to home, slowly becoming a weapon of mass destruction. Does Martok know? I transmitted the initial findings 2 days ago. He ordered us to continue monitoring and find solutions. Korvath hesitated. But Kynera, there may be no solution. We're dealing with forces that transcend conventional physics. The longer we remain in this universe, the more our very presence destabilizes the dimensional barrier. Meaning what? Meaning eventually we'll have to choose. Return home through an increasingly unstable rift and risk losing ships in the transition. Or remain here knowing our presence might destroy millions of lives in this galaxy. Kynera closed her eyes. A Klingon warrior's duty was clear. Fight honorably. Die gloriously if necessary, but never flee from responsibility. If their presence threatened innocent lives, honor demanded they act. But abandoning the mission, leaving Martok and 400 warriors stranded without hope of reinforcement or support, that violated every warrior instinct she possessed. Continue monitoring. Send hourly updates to the Chancellor. And Korvath, she met his eyes. Find a way to stabilize it. Because I refuse to believe the Klingon Empire ends like this. Not in glorious battle, but as accidental harbingers of dimensional catastrophe. Three sectors away, Chancellor Martok stood on Mandalore's surface for the first time, walking through the ruins of what had once been Keldaby, the ancient warrior capital, now reduced to rubble and memories by centuries of pacifist neglect. Bo-Katan walked beside him, her helmet off, her expression a mixture of pride and pain. My ancestors built this city to withstand orbital bombardment, she said quietly. Every building was a fortress. Every street a killing ground designed to bleed invaders dry. Then the new Mandalorians decided walls and weapons were symbols of barbarism. They let it fall to ruin. Martok ran his hand along ancient stone, feeling the craftsmanship of warriors who understood that civilization required strength to defend it. In the Klingon Empire, we honor our past. Every warrior learns the songs of ancient battles, studies the tactics of legendary generals. The past teaches us how to face the future. The past also teaches us that warrior cultures eventually destroy themselves, said a new voice. Cold, refined, carrying authority. A lesson my sister apparently refuses to learn. Martok turned to see a woman approaching, flanked by guards in ceremonial armor. She bore striking resemblance to Bo-Katan, but carried herself with the careful dignity of political leadership rather than warrior directness. Duchess Satine Kryze, leader of the new Mandalorians, and everything the Death Watch despised. Sister, Bo-Katan said, her voice carefully neutral. I didn't expect you to leave the safety of Sundari. How could I not, when I hear my own sister is allying with alien invaders who promote the very violence that nearly destroyed our people? Satine's eyes fixed on Martok. Chancellor Martok, I know what you are, what you represent, and I'm here to ask you, as one leader to another, to leave Mandalore before you reignite conflicts we've spent generations trying to heal. Martok studied the Duchess carefully. She was brave. He'd give her that. Standing before a Klingon warrior without visible fear, making demands when she had no leverage. But her words carried the weakness he'd come to despise in this galaxy's leaders. You speak of healing, Martok said slowly. Yet your colonies were glassed, your people slaughtered. Where was your peace then, Duchess? Did diplomatic words stop separatist bombardment? Those atrocities happened because warrior factions like Deathwatch kept Mandalore trapped in cycles of violence, Satine countered. The Separatists targeted us because we represented a threat, because warriors like my sister insisted on maintaining military capabilities instead of embracing neutrality completely. So you blame the victims? Commander Clag growled from behind Martok. Your people were attacked because they dared to defend themselves. This is the logic of cowards. Satine's guards tensed, hands moving toward weapons, but she raised a hand to stop them. I blame the philosophy that says strength only comes through violence. That honor requires bloodshed. That peace is weakness. She turned back to Martok. You've seen this galaxy for barely a month, Chancellor. You don't understand the complexities, the centuries of history that led to our current situation. I understand perfectly, Martok said flatly. I understand that your republic breeds slave soldiers to fight its wars, that your separatists hide behind droid armies, that your Jedi preach peace while commanding battle fleets, and that you, Duchess, speak of pacifism while your people burn because you wouldn't let them defend themselves. Defending and glorifying war are not the same thing. No, Martok agreed. But refusing to prepare for war guarantees you'll be conquered by those who do. You've built a civilization on the hope that others will respect your weakness. The Separatists answered that hope with orbital bombardment. Bo-Katan stepped between them, her expression pained. Satine, leave. You're not going to change his mind, and you're not going to change mine. Deathwatch has made its choice. To side with alien warlords against your own people? To side with warriors who understand what Mandalore truly is? Bo-Katan's voice rose with years of suppressed frustration. You erased our history, Satine. Banned our armor, outlawed our weapons, tried to pretend we were never conquerors. But the galaxy didn't forget. And when the Separatists came, all your peace couldn't save a single life. Satine's face went pale. Those deaths are on your conscience, not mine. Every Mandalorian who died fighting could have lived if Death Watch had accepted peace instead of clinging to outdated warrior traditions. They died with honor, Martok interjected quietly. They died defending what they believed in, protecting people who couldn't protect themselves. In the Klingon Empire, we build monuments to such warriors. We sing songs of their glory. But you, Duchess, you'd rather forget they existed. Because glorifying death leads to more death, and pretending death doesn't exist leads to extinction. Martok moved closer, and despite herself, Satine took a step back. I've commanded warriors for 3 decades, Duchess. I've seen civilizations rise and fall. And I can tell you with absolute certainty, a culture that won't fight for its own survival doesn't deserve to survive. You've raised generations of Mandalorians who've forgotten how to be Mandalorian. Your sister is trying to remind them. By starting a war that will kill thousands. By giving them the choice to die as warriors instead of victims. Satine looked at her sister one last time, and in her eyes Martok saw genuine grief, not just for their political divide, but for something deeper. Family torn apart by irreconcilable philosophies. When this ends in tragedy, Satine said quietly, remember I tried to stop it. She turned and left, her guards following. Bo-Katan watched her go, her expression unreadable. She's not entirely wrong, the Mandalorian leader said after a long silence. Warrior cultures do tend to destroy themselves eventually. My people nearly did, multiple times. The difference, Martok said, is whether you die on your feet or your knees. Your sister chose knees. You chose feet. I know which death I'd prefer. Death might be coming sooner than you think. Bo-Katan pulled up a holographic communication. Encrypted Republic channels. My intelligence network intercepted this an hour ago. The Jedi Council is debating whether to send a task force to eliminate us. Obi-Wan Kenobi is coming to negotiate, but he's bringing an entire battalion and orders to neutralize the threat if diplomacy fails. Martok felt his blood heat with familiar anticipation. Then let him come. Let all of them come. The Republic will learn what the Separatists discovered. Threatening Klingon warriors is a mistake you make only once. And if they bring the full weight of their military, we're talking thousands of ships, millions of clone troopers, then we'll die gloriously. Martok's smile was fierce. But first, we'll make them pay for every meter of ground in blood they'll never forget. Come, Bo-Katan. Let's show your sister what Mandalorian warriors allied with Klingon technology can truly achieve. As they walked back toward the waiting Klingon shuttlecraft, neither noticed the transmission being sent from Satine's ship, a desperate plea to the Jedi Council, begging them to intervene before her sister's alliance destroyed everything she'd built. War was coming to Mandalore, and this time, it would be glorious. The Galactic Empire had risen from the Republic's ashes with terrifying efficiency. Order 66 had executed across 1,000 worlds simultaneously. Clone troopers turning on their Jedi generals in coordinated betrayal that shattered the Order in a single day. Obi-Wan Kenobi had never made it to Mandalore. His desperate mission became survival, then exile, then a hunted fugitive's desperate flight to the Outer Rim. Chancellor Martok learned of the Jedi extinction through intercepted Imperial communications and felt no satisfaction, only cold rage at the dishonor of it all. Warriors betrayed by their own soldiers, an entire culture destroyed through deception rather than honest combat. The Republic he despised had become something infinitely worse. The Galactic Empire, led by Emperor Palpatine and enforced by legions of stormtroopers, declared the Klingon-Mandalorian alliance an enemy of galactic peace. Within weeks, star destroyers appeared over contested worlds, demanding submission or annihilation. Martok's response had been predictable. Come and take it. Now, 3 months after Order 66, The war between the Empire and the Alliance had escalated into something that would define this galaxy for generations. And Martok stood on the bridge of the Rotaran, facing an enemy worthy of Klingon songs. The view screen showed a massive Imperial fleet, 12 Star Destroyers arranged in textbook formation, supported by dozens of smaller cruisers and fighter screens. At their lead was the Executrix, command ship of the Empire's most feared enforcer. Darth Vader had come.
"Chancellor, we're receiving a transmission,"
Kynera reported, her voice tight with tension. She'd returned from monitoring the rift with news that gave them 4 weeks, maybe 5, before dimensional collapse became inevitable. But that was a problem for later. Right now, survival took priority. The holographic figure that materialized was imposing even without physical presence. Black armor, mechanical breathing, cape flowing despite the lack of atmosphere. Vader's masked face revealed nothing, but his voice carried absolute authority. "Chancellor Martok, I am Darth Vader, Supreme Commander of the Imperial Military. Emperor Palpatine offers you one final opportunity. Surrender your fleet, disband your alliance with the Mandalorian terrorists, and accept Imperial governance. Refuse, and you will be destroyed." Martok had faced this ultimatum twice before, once over Conquered Dawn, where Vader's fleet had retreated after suffering unexpected losses to cloaked Klingon strikes. Once at Ordo, where they'd fought to a brutal stalemate that left both sides bloodied but unbowed. This would be their third confrontation, and Martok knew it would be their last. "We've had this conversation, Vader," Martok said, his voice carrying the weariness of a warrior who'd seen too many battles blur together. "You demand submission. I refuse. We fight. Neither side achieves decisive victory. The dance continues. But today will be different." Vader's mechanical breathing filled the silence. "You sound resigned to defeat. I sound resigned to reality." Martok gestured to Kynera, who transmitted dimensional rift data directly to Vader's ship, an act of unprecedented honesty that made his bridge crew tense. "Our presence in this galaxy is causing a dimensional fracture that will eventually destroy multiple star systems. We've monitored the rift for months. It's accelerating beyond our ability to control. In 30 days, perhaps less, it will either collapse entirely or expand catastrophically. You're sharing this why? Because honor demands it. Because unlike your empire, we don't wage war through deception. And because," Martok paused, choosing words carefully, "because I've come to respect certain warriors in this galaxy, the Mandalorians who fight beside us. Even you, Vader, you're a slave to your emperor, but you fight with genuine skill. When we leave, or when the rift destroys us, I want worthy opponents to remember the Klingon Empire as warriors, not dimensional catastrophes." Vader processed this in silence. When he spoke again, his voice carried something that might have been grudging respect. "You plan to return through the rift before it destabilizes. If possible, but our science teams estimate only a 40% probability of successful transition. More likely, we'll be torn apart crossing dimensional barriers that no longer maintain structural integrity. Then why return at all? Remain here, accept Imperial authority. You and your Mandalorian allies would be formidable assets. Under your Emperor's chains?" Martok's laugh was bitter. "I've watched your empire, Vader. I've seen how it treats its citizens. Fear, oppression, slavery disguised as order. My people would rather die in dimensional flux than live under such dishonor. Then you choose death. I choose to attempt returning home while giving my people a warrior's chance at survival. But first," Martok's expression hardened. "First, we settle our accounts. You've hunted us for 3 months. We've bloodied your fleets and humiliated your commanders. Today we face each other honestly. One final battle before the rift claims us, or we claim our freedom. You're insane, Vader stated flatly. I'm Klingon. Commander Clegg moved beside Martok's chair. Chancellor, the Mandalorian fleet is in position. Bo-Katan reports all warriors ready for final engagement. On the tactical display, Martok watched friendly contacts converge. 12 Klingon birds of prey, augmented by 30 Mandalorian vessels ranging from light fighters to commandeered Separatist frigates. Against them, Vader's Imperial Armada represented overwhelming numerical superiority. But the Klingons had never cared about numerical superiority. All ships, Martok transmitted across encrypted Klingon Mandalorian channels. Today we fight not for conquest, not for territory, but for the simple right to return home with honor intact. The Empire believes us defeated, believes our dimensional crisis makes us weak. They are wrong. We are Klingons. We are Mandalorians. And we will show this galaxy one final time what warriors can achieve when they fight without fear. The response was deafening. Battle cries in Klingon and Mandoa echoing across communication channels. Warriors preparing for glorious combat regardless of odds. Vader, Martok said, turning back to the hologram. You've called me insane. Perhaps I am. But I'm also the warrior who's bloodied your empire's nose 3 times in as many months. Come then, let's settle this properly. Ship to ship, warrior to warrior. May the strongest survive to tell the tale. He cut the transmission and turned to his weapons officer. Prepare photon torpedoes. Full spread. All remaining antimatter reserves, we won't need them for the journey home if we don't survive the next hour.
Chancellor,
Kynera said quietly. Even if we win this battle, even if we reach the rift, the probability of successful transition is...
I know the numbers, old friend.
Martok placed a hand on her shoulder. But Klingons don't calculate probabilities before battle. We fight. We trust in our skills. And we face whatever comes with honor. If we die in dimensional flux attempting to return home, at least we die as warriors trying to reach our people. Better than living as the Empire's slaves. Kapla. Kynera said softly. Success. The traditional Klingon battle blessing. Kapla! Martok echoed. Then louder. All ships, attack pattern Omega 7. Cloak and prepare for close-range engagement. Today, we teach Darth Vader what the Klingon Empire truly is. The 12 birds of prey shimmered and vanished from Imperial sensors. Around them, Mandalorian fighters activated jamming systems and began their assault run. In the distance, the dimensional rift pulsed with increasing violence, a countdown to catastrophe that gave this battle terrible urgency. The final confrontation had begun, and in his meditation chamber aboard the Executrix, Darth Vader ignited his crimson lightsaber and prepared for personal combat. Through the Force, he sensed something unprecedented approaching. Warriors completely outside the Force's influence, voids where life should exist. Fighting with a ferocity that even Sith training couldn't fully prepare him for. For the first time since his transformation, Vader felt something approaching uncertainty. These Klingons would not die easily. The battle erupted with violence that would echo through Imperial records for decades. Klingon birds of prey materialized inside the Imperial formation, their disruptors tearing through Star Destroyer shields at point-blank range. Mandalorian fighters swarmed like predatory insects, their jetpack-equipped pilots performing maneuvers that defied every tactical doctrine. Photon torpedoes, antimatter weapons from another universe, punched holes through Imperial hulls designed to withstand turbo-laser batteries. But the Empire had numbers. For every stormtrooper platoon that fell to Klingon boarding parties, 3 more deployed from troop carriers. For every TIE fighter destroyed by Mandalorian marksmanship, a dozen more launched from hangar bays. The Imperial war machine ground forward with inexorable momentum, trading casualties for strategic position. Martok stood on the Rotaran's bridge, coordinating fleet movements while his ship shuddered under sustained turbolaser fire. Status: shields at 40%, Canera reported. The IKS Chitang is venting atmosphere. IKS Kampek reports catastrophic engine damage. She can't maintain formation. Tell them to ram the nearest Star Destroyer, Martok ordered without hesitation. Let their deaths buy us tactical advantage. The crippled bird of prey adjusted course, her captain's final transmission a warrior's battle cry. She slammed into the Devastator's engineering section at full impulse, the resulting explosion carving a canyon through the Star Destroyer's superstructure. Both ships became funeral pyres lighting the void. Chancellor! Bo-Katan's voice crackled through communications from her fighter. Vader's shuttle just launched from the Executrix. He's heading for your position with boarding craft. Martok felt his blood sing. Finally. Clegg, prepare boarding defense teams. Canera, transfer command protocols to you. If I fall... If you fall, I will complete the mission, Canera interrupted, her voice thick with emotion. But I will sing songs of your glory for the rest of my life. Then ensure those songs are worthy ones. Martok strode from the bridge, his bat'leth already in hand. Behind him, 20 Klingon warriors formed up, the finest fighters aboard, each one eager for the honor of facing the Empire's champion. They moved through corridors scarred by previous battles, past damage-controlled teams working frantically to maintain ship integrity, toward the starboard docking port, where sensors showed Vader's shuttle attaching like a parasitic organism. The airlock exploded inward with force-enhanced strength. Smoke cleared to reveal Darth Vader, crimson lightsaber ignited, flanked by a squad of elite stormtroopers whose armor bore the black markings of the 501st Legion, his personal unit, veterans of the Clone Wars who'd executed Order 66 with ruthless efficiency. Chancellor Martok. Vader's mechanical breathing filled the corridor. Your ship is crippled. Your fleet is dying. Surrender, and I will grant you a warrior's death rather than dimensional annihilation. I've faced death 1,000 times, Vader. Martok raised his bat'leth, its curved blade catching emergency lighting. In my universe, I fought the Jem'Hadar, genetically engineered killers who knew no fear. I dueled Gulran for the leadership of the Empire. I've stood alone against enemies who would make your stormtroopers weep. You think your laser sword frightens me? I think you're a fool who mistakes stubbornness for honor. And I think you're a slave who mistakes obedience for strength. Vader moved with impossible speed, the force propelling him forward, his lightsaber cutting horizontally at Martok's neck. But Martok had fought enough battles to recognize committed attacks. He rolled beneath the blade, his bat'leth sweeping upward to catch Vader's mechanical arm. Cortosis in the Klingon weapon's alloy made the lightsaber sputter and die for a critical second. Vader's other hand extended, force lightning crackling across the distance. Martok's armor absorbed some of the energy, but pain lanced through his nervous system. He roared defiance, pushing through agony to swing the bat'leth again. The blade caught Vader's shoulder armor, not penetrating but forcing the Sith Lord back a step. Around them, Klingon warriors clashed with stormtroopers. Disruptor fire met blaster bolts. Bat'leths carved through plastoid armor. The 501st fought with Clone Wars experience, but Klingons fought with generations of warrior tradition. Blood, both red and synthetic, painted the corridor. You're strong, Vader acknowledged, his lightsaber reigniting. Stronger than most, but strength without the Force is meaningless. The Force is a crutch, Martok spat blood. You rely on mystical power because you've forgotten what it means to fight with skill alone. They clashed again, lightsaber against bat'leth, Sith dark side against Klingon battle rage. Vader's precision met Martok's ferocity. The Force allowed Vader to anticipate moves, But Martok's experience let him adapt faster than precognition could predict. They were matched, not in power, but in will. Then, the Rotarans shuddered violently. Kanera's voice echoed through ship-wide communications. "All hands, brace for impact. Star Destroyer ramming course. Collision in 30 seconds." Vader felt it through the Force. The Executrix, crippled by Mandalorian bomber runs, falling toward the Rotaran in a death spiral that would destroy both vessels. He'd felt his ship's death approaching through the Force, but hadn't realized how close. "Your flagship dies," Martok said, breathing hard. "Mine dies. Both of us, Vader. Both of us end here unless one of us yields." "I do not yield." "Neither do I." Martok's smile was savage. "Then we die as warriors should, locked in combat until the void claims us both." But Vader did something unexpected. He deactivated his lightsaber. "No, we don't." "What?" "I've fought this war for 3 months, Chancellor. I've studied your tactics, analyzed your culture, even learned to respect your warriors. You're not my enemy. You're a symptom of a galaxy that's forgotten honor in favor of political manipulation." Vader's respirator cycled heavily. "Go. Take your fleet through the rift. Leave this galaxy before the Emperor finds ways to truly destroy you." Martok stared, disbelieving. "You're letting us escape?" "I'm acknowledging that killing you accomplishes nothing except removing warriors from a universe that desperately needs them. The Empire will endure without your deaths. Whether you survive the dimensional transition," Vader's voice carried something approaching regret, "that's between you and whatever powers govern your universe." Alarms shrieked as the Executrix loomed closer. 15 seconds to impact. "Chancellor!" Kanera's voice was desperate. "We must disengage now!" Martok locked eyes with Vader one final time. "Why?" "Because the Jedi I was would have wanted warriors like you to survive, and some part of that Jedi still remembers." "You're stronger than your Emperor knows," Martok said quietly. "And you're more honorable than this galaxy deserves." 10 seconds. Martok ran, his warriors following, racing through corridors toward the transporter room. Behind him, Vader stood alone in the damaged corridor, watching them flee, then activated his personal communicator. "All Imperial forces, disengage from Klingon vessels. Let them retreat." "Lord Vader," his admiral's voice questioned. The Emperor ordered me to command this fleet. I am commanding it. Stand down." 5 seconds. Martok materialized on the Rotaran's bridge. "All ships, emergency warp to the rift coordinates. Maximum speed." The Klingon fleet and their Mandalorian allies disengaged simultaneously, their cloaking devices activating as they fled toward the pulsing dimensional tear. Behind them, the Executrix and Rotaran would have collided, except Vader had ordered his flagship's emergency thrusters fired at the last possible moment, altering trajectory just enough. The explosion still lit the sector like a dying star, but both ships survived, barely. "Status," Martok demanded. "Rift ahead," Kanera reported. "Stability at 12% and falling. Chancellor, if we attempt transit now, we attempt it now or die here. All ships, full speed. Today, we go home, or we die gloriously trying." The dimensional rift filled their view screens, a swirling maelstrom of impossible colors and broken physics. One by one, the Klingon vessels dove into it. Several Mandalorian ships followed, Bo-Katan's fighter leading her most loyal warriors. The Rotaran entered last. Reality screamed. The transition was agony written in dimensions the mind couldn't process. Martok felt his molecules stretch across universes. Felt time become meaningless as past and future collapsed into a singular moment of existence. The Rotaran bucked and twisted through dimensional storms that tore at her hull. ripped away sections of armor, and sent half the crew into unconsciousness as their bodies struggled to reconcile conflicting physical laws. Then, silence. The view screen cleared to show familiar stars, the constellations of the Kethalolin sector, the space they'd left 4 months ago. Around them, 9 other Klingon vessels materialized from the rift, scarred and damaged but intact. 2 birds of prey had been lost in the crossing, their crews claimed by dimensional forces no shield could withstand. And with them came 3 Mandalorian fighters, Bo-Katan's craft, and 2 of her night owls. Warriors who'd chosen to follow the Klingons rather than remain in their home galaxy.
We made it,
Kynera whispered, disbelief thick in her voice.
By Kahless, we actually made it.
Behind them, the dimensional rift pulsed one final time, then collapsed with a flash of light that registered across subspace sensors throughout the sector. The bridge to the Star Wars galaxy sealed itself, leaving only radiation echoes and quantum residue to mark where it had existed. Chancellor Martok sat heavily in his command chair, feeling exhaustion deeper than any battle fatigue. They'd survived. Against probability, against physics, against every tactical assessment. They'd come home. But they'd left something behind. The alliance with warriors who understood honor. The battles against enemies worthy of songs. And perhaps most significantly, the small cylindrical object that rested in Martok's quarters. A lightsaber hilt, red crystals still humming with dark side energy. Recovered from a defeated Sith apprentice during their final weeks in that distant galaxy. Chancellor, Starfleet Command is hailing us, the communications officer reported. They're demanding to know where we've been. The Federation thought we were destroyed when the anomaly collapsed. Tell them. Martok paused, considering. How did you explain 4 months in another universe? A war fought alongside alien warriors against an empire that controlled quadrillions. A duel with a Sith Lord in black armor who'd shown unexpected mercy. Tell them we'll deliver a full report to the High Council. And that the Klingon Empire has learned there are warrior cultures beyond our own universe worthy of respect. Bo-Katan's fighter landed in the Rotaran's hangar bay. When she stepped out and removed her helmet, her eyes swept across Klingon technology with the gaze of someone seeing it for the first time in proper context. Not as alien artifacts in her galaxy, but as the genuine articles in their native universe.
So this is your home,
she said when Martok met her in the hangar. Feels colder than Mandalore somehow. You didn't have to come through the rift, Martok said. You could have stayed, rebuilt your warrior culture, led your people. My sister will lead the pacifists. Death Watch will find new leaders to fight the Empire. Bo-Katan's smile was tired but genuine. But I wanted to see where warriors like you came from. To understand what a civilization built entirely on honor and combat actually looks like. Besides, she gestured to her 2 warriors, who stood examining a batleth with professional appreciation. We figured you might need Mandalorians to remind you what real armor looks like. Martok's laugh echoed through the hangar. Genuine, relieved, alive. Welcome to the Klingon Empire, Mandalorian. I suspect you'll find we have much to teach each other. In the weeks that followed, the story of the Klingon task force that vanished into another universe spread through both the Empire and the Federation. Songs were composed about the battles on Mandalore, the duels with Darth Vader, the alliance with warriors from beyond reality itself. The 3 Mandalorians became something of legends, warriors from another universe who'd chosen honor over home. But in his private quarters, Martok kept the Sith lightsaber locked away, a reminder of what they'd encountered. The red crystal pulsed occasionally with energy that should not exist in this universe. Dark side power that had somehow crossed dimensional barriers. Kynera had run analysis. The crystal's energy signature was destabilizing local subspace. Slowly. almost imperceptibly, but definitely present. "It's creating microfractures," she'd reported. "Nothing dangerous now. But Chancellor, if that energy continues to accumulate, if it attracts similar dimensional anomalies, you're saying the door we closed might open again. I'm saying we may have brought something back with us. Something that doesn't belong in our universe any more than we belonged in theirs." Martok had considered destroying the crystal. But warrior instinct stopped him. If the rift opened again, if the Empire from that distant galaxy found a way through, if Darth Vader or his Emperor decided the Klingon Empire was a threat worth pursuing across dimensions, they would need every advantage, every weapon, every piece of knowledge about an enemy that could bend reality with mystical power. The Klingon Empire had survived its journey to another universe. They'd forged alliances with worthy warriors, fought battles that would be remembered for generations, and returned home with their honor intact. But as Martok stood on the Rotaran's bridge, watching the stars of his home space, he couldn't shake the feeling that their story with the Star Wars galaxy wasn't truly finished. Somewhere in another universe, an empire rose unchallenged. Somewhere, the Mandalorians fought alone against impossible odds. Somewhere, a Sith Lord in black armor remembered the warriors who'd shown him what honor looked like, even in the midst of war. And perhaps, someday, the Force and the dimensional barriers between universes would align once more. Until then, the Klingon Empire would remember, would prepare, would ensure that if warriors were ever needed again, in any universe, in any reality, they would be ready to answer the call, because that's what warriors did. They fought, they honored their oaths, and they never ever forgot allies who'd bled beside them. Kapla, success. The stars awaited, and the Klingon Empire was home. May the Force be with you. More stories await.